Okay, awesome. All right, so we're now up and running. So, Chrissy, thank you so much for joining me here today. I appreciate you taking some time. I want to kick this off talking about the KPA. So, we have your results in front of me. We'll jump into the first section. So, we're going to start this off by talking about optimism. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate would you say each sentence is? Christina likes a regular interaction with people. However, she tends to maintain a healthy skepticism about situations and has the tendency and ability to anticipate things that might go wrong.
I would say that is a 9.
Okay, what makes that a 9?
I definitely like to interact with people. I wouldn't say like 100% I'm skeptical, um, but I definitely have a healthy bit of it.
Okay, gotcha. So, with that being said, I always like diving into being prepared when talking about this section. So, being prepared is obviously really important. You want to think about the things that could go right and could go wrong in a plan. However, it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole of just what if scenarios that might prevent you from taking real action. So, how do you keep a balance of being prepared, but not also not letting your preparation hold you back from taking real action?
I, I I'd say that's a 10.
Oh, sorry. So that was just a
I'm sorry.
question.
Okay.
No, no. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
asking you.
I would say that's accurate. Yes.
So, what the question was asking, no worries, people get that confused. How do you balance being prepared with taking action? So, how do you not let over preparation hold you back from taking action in situations? What do you do to really make yourself prepared for a situation, but not let you hold back from taking the steps forward?
I mean, obviously, always being prepared is good, but there's such a thing as being over prepared too. Like for example, like interviewing. Like I didn't go and Google, how to answer the questions I might get because I don't want that in my head when I'm trying to just be honest and answer honestly. Um, but you also have to be ready for, you can get a curveball at any time, and you have to be able to pivot and, okay, that wasn't part of my plan, so now, new plan and keep moving forward.
Okay, gotcha. So, going back to the statement really quick, it says has a healthy skepticism about situations and tendency, and you gave that one a 9, but it's mentioning that you're not always that skeptical. Did you always have a skeptical nature, or do you think this is something you developed over time? Where do you think that came from?
I mean, I think with age, you're always like, okay, if something's too good to be true, but you don't want to be negative about it either, but you want to, not be gullible, I guess. I would say I wouldn't say I'm super skeptical, but I'm definitely not naive or gullible, if that makes sense.
Okay, got it. All right, awesome. All right, so we'll cruise on to our next section, which will be on intensity. So, scale of 1 to 10, just like before, how accurate is each sentence? Chrissy is not openly confrontational when frustrated. She does not when she does not get her way at work, she's likely to try to find common ground or take a collaborative approach. When she does not agree with something, she may not say anything, leading to others to think that she's in agreement when in fact she is really not.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to. Oh man, I'm gonna give that a 7. I'd say the first part of what you said is very accurate, but I'm definitely, if I don't agree with something, I'm not going to not say anything. Especially, if if it's, important to, in a work situation, like if I really feel like, something is going to be the wrong decision for the company, or something like that, I'm definitely going to voice why I disagree. I mean, not certainly not in a confrontational manner, but I'm definitely
Right.
not going to not say anything.
Okay, awesome. So based on situations, how would you normally go about voicing your opinion? Are you someone that likes to say it right then and there with your voice? Maybe speak to your boss or manager in a more private setting. How do you like to really go about those issues?
I think it really depends on the situation. If it's a situation where it's, a team and everybody's giving their ideas, then certainly I'm going to do it right there in the moment and, present, facts or reasons for why, I have the opinion that I have. If it's a situation where, it would make somebody uncomfortable or it wouldn't be appropriate to say it in front, disagree in front of other people, I would wait until after the fact and then approach that person privately and be like, hey, I have some thoughts on this. So it depends on the situation.
Awesome. All right. So with that being said, let's jump into the real world here. And now I want you to talk to me about a time in the past where where your boss or manager made a decision that you did not agree with. What was the situation and what did you end up doing?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. I would say, okay, so I had a client that they wanted they wanted to offer like a promotion, like a sale, and they wanted to just do 10% off everything. And I tried to explain to them if they do, a dollar amount as opposed to a percentage, it's going to look like more and feel like more, like given the specific circumstance of that. And, I just presented the pros and cons of each to them. And, they eventually went with, what I thought because I had, the expertise and on the marketing side, but, always present them with, you know, the facts, like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but this is why I think, this is a better approach.
Okay. Gotcha. And how did that go over, or excuse me, how did you go about that? Did you do that in person, over email, phone
Um,
call?
it was a phone call. It started with email and then phone call because it was more easy to explain, what I was thinking to actually talk to them and be able to have that conversation going back and forth as opposed to email where things can get misunderstood or misinterpreted and it's just quicker and
Definitely.
easier.
Definitely. All right, awesome. All right, so I want to shift the conversation, but still stay under the intensity umbrella to getting frustrated at work. So it happens to everyone, no matter who you are. Everyone's been frustrated at one point or another. Whether it's something serious or something silly, like the coffee spills on you, the Wi-Fi isn't working. It happens. It happens to everyone. And for some people, you can see it clearly on their face that they're frustrated. And for other people, you really have no idea, or someone might just get really quiet. How does this show for you at work when you get frustrated?
I don't know. I mean, I think I hide frustration pretty well. I mean, I don't get easily, like little things like that don't generally frustrate me. Like it would take more than just like coffee spilling or the Wi-Fi going out. But I would say usually, I mean, I don't know. It definitely doesn't show on my face. I think people probably don't even know when I'm frustrated, to be honest.
Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, so moving right along, now I'm going to talk about sociability. So, scale of 1 to 10, how accurate would you say each sentence is? Chrissy is very sociable and congenial, and she is at her best in work situations where she is required to interact with a variety of people. She conveys an interest in others, but she also values attention and recognition and is very quick to tune into emotional climates around her.
I would say that's a 9. I mean, I think that pretty accurately describes me.
All right, why'd you give that one a 9?
I don't know. Because like you said, I shouldn't be afraid to give something a 10, but um, I
But
mean,
just walk me through why you agree with it. Well, give me some examples if you could, or anything you could really describe about yourself that you agree with that statement of saying how you like interacting with people and like find those things easy, etc.
I mean, I'm definitely what someone would call a quote unquote social butterfly. And I definitely am always conscious of like my audience and the mood of the people around me and play, not in a bad way play, but I'm aware of that and keep that in mind when I'm interacting. If someone's sad, I'm not gonna like be trying to make jokes, I'm gonna, be conscious of the fact that they're not having a good day and that sort of thing.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So with that being said, I want to now dive into one of my favorite questions. So this involves building a perfect work day. So if you had the power to do so, building the time in your day between getting things done solo, checking things off your list, going down your to-dos, getting things done, versus working with a group, team, interacting with others, or building relationships? How would you split that time? Would it be flip 50-50 group versus independent, 60-40, 70-30, 90-10? What would it be for you?
Um, I would say, I mean, well, it depends on the tasks involved, honestly. I mean,
Or
obviously, if I come into work on on a given day, and you know meetings and are the primary focus of that day, then obviously more of my time is going to be spent that way versus on tasks by myself. But I would say probably like 60-40, 60 being me just getting in there, getting stuff done, and then 40% collaborative.
okay, gotcha. Awesome. All right, so moving forward, let's jump to our next section, which will be on adaptability. So, scale of 1 to 10, how accurate is the statement? Chrissy tends to act and make decisions according to her own beliefs. She is willing to consider opposing points of view based on documented data. She will, however, likely resist those based solely on popular opinion or speculation, excuse me.
I would say that's a 10. Like, I'm willing to listen to other people's opinions, but bring some facts to the table. Because if I have an opinion, I'm going to bring facts to the table too. If that makes sense. Like, just because like, oh, everybody's saying this, I'm going to research it and see like why are they saying it.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, so with that being said, I now want to jump into talking about customer service um, with this category. So obviously, customer service is super important. You want to think about the things that could go right or could go wrong in a scenario, and really give people that 5-star um, experience no matter what. However, there's always people that take advantage of companies and believe in the fallacy that the customer is always right. So, what was the time that you had to draw a line in the sand to make sure that you or your company didn't get taken advantage of?
Well, let's see. Okay, when I worked at Rut, there was a gentleman, like a high profile kitchen designer that had designed a couple of cabinetry doors for them, and we had paid him to design those doors, so we owned those doors. And he tried to like forcefully email me and say I had to give him credit every time I posted something online with those doors. And I understood he wanted that credit, but as far as the company was concerned, they had paid him for that work, so I had to be firm with him and be like, I apologize, but that is just not was not part of your contract. And I may tag you here and there, but I can't do that every time.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you. So, uh, let's keep cruising along here. Now, talk about responsiveness. So, scale of 1 to 10, how accurate? Chrissy tends to react quickly to outside influences and events. She finds it difficult to delay action or to withdraw her thoughts and opinions. She gains satisfaction from busy and active work positions that is changeable and fast moving, especially when she is organized in her efforts.
Mm, I'm gonna give that a 7. I mean, I certainly like being busy. I like having multiple different things to do and moving from task to task. And I feel like I'm more productive when I'm up against the wall, if that makes sense. Like so I kind of thrive in that environment.
Okay, so you gave it a 7. Might I ask what part of it would you disagree with? I can read it back to you if you like.
Yeah, go ahead, please. I know there was something at the end that made me not go all the
Yeah.
way there.
All right, so it says Chrissy tends to react quickly to outside influences and events. She finds it difficult to delay action or to withdraw her thoughts and opinions. She gains satisfaction from busy and active work positions that is changeable and fast moving, especially when she's organized in her efforts.
Okay, I think it was actually the middle part about the oh gosh, I wish these were written down in front of me. The
Finds it
reacting
difficult,
to my own thoughts, or I'm sorry, go ahead.
difficult to delay action or to withhold her thoughts and opinions.
I think I'm capable of, if I need to, or I should in a given situation, like, keep my thoughts and opinions to myself. I'm certainly not like, gonna just feel like I have to throw it out there if it's not appropriate.
Okay, awesome. Beautiful. All right. So, with that being said, I now want you to walk me through a time where you were just dealing with chaos on a daily basis, a real world experience where things were moving super fast paced, chaotic, things were moving around. And how did you stay organized and prioritize everything you needed to do on a daily basis?
Um, I would say when I worked at Unclean Freight, I was wearing many hats there at any given time because it was a smaller business. And really just having to-do lists, and I use Trello to kind of prioritize, like, okay, I've got these tasks, which is the most important. And, if you have two things that are important, all right, well, which one can I get done faster? Let me do that one first. And just being able to rank what's a priority.
Okay. Would you take that time when things were really crazy at that company versus a different time when things were much, 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 much slower?
I'm sorry, would I what?
Which would you rather be in, the
Oh,
extremely fast environment or the slower?
honestly, I do like the fast pace. I like, having a lull in the day is the worst thing. I mean, there's always something you should or could be doing, but to have things of purpose that I need to be doing as opposed to like filling time for the sake of filling time, I hate that.
Okay, awesome. All right, so now we're going to move on to logical problem solving. So, scale of 1 to 10, how accurate is the sentence? Rather than tackling complex problems in a methodical, linear, step by step fashion, Chrissy will instead look for a trial and error approach.
Oh, that's a one.
Okay, well, why'd you say that?
Definitely methodical. I like, steps and processes, and, I'll create them for myself just because it keeps you on track, keeps me organized, keeps me moving forward.
Okay, got it. All right. So with that said, I now want you to think for a real world example now. So what was a time that you had to solve a large problem? So this isn't a problem where in one day or quickly you're like, oh, here's a simple solution. This was something you really had to work your way through and go over many obstacles. So in recent, if possible, what was a large problem? What was the problem? What were the obstacles? And how did you find a solution?
Um, I would say I was designing an e-commerce site, and the way they wanted the products to be listed and the ability for people to click multiple things. Like, that part's hard to explain, but basically I went through and I, researched how other people were doing it, what were the best options and ways of doing it, and, plugins I could use for WordPress to create the structure that they wanted within their e-commerce platform. And then, I tested different ways of doing it until I found the one that, was the best and that they liked. And so it was very much like a methodical approach.
Okay. Well, what did the end result look like?
It looked good. um, they were able to click on, a category, have multiple items, and then click those multiple items and add customizations for each one, and then add it to cart as one solid block, just the way the client wanted.
Awesome. All right. So with that being said, let's keep cruising along now and talk about assertiveness. So just like before, scale of 1 to 10, how accurate? Chrissy is not inclined to vigorously seek control of people or situations. She enjoys achieving goals and contributing through more cooperative, conciliatory methods. She tends to look for excuse me. She tends to look for the baking of authority and will be a supportive team member. She can be enthusiastic when she is sure of herself.
I would say that's a 10.
Or what makes that a 10?
I I definitely am not trying to control anything, but I'm definitely going to contribute and um, you know, to whatever we're working on at the given time. But and I'm definitely going to add whatever I can add to be beneficial. But I'm not going to like try to take over the situation unless it's it's something I'm supposed to be leading and I'm in charge. That's obviously a different situation.
Got it. Okay. So when you're in a real world team or group, do you normally find yourself as being a supporter of the group or a leader of the group?
Mm, I mean, I guess it really depends. If my role is meant to be supportive, then I'm going to be supportive. But if there's not a natural leader in the group and somebody needs to you know give get the group going on a path, I can certainly I step up and do that.
Okay. Gotcha. So what was the time where you did have to do you had to take charge of a situation because there it needed it for the good of the group?
I when I worked at Rut, one of the things I helped them was develop their training for their cabinetry dealers, and a big part of that was, I was in all the meetings for their dealer training because I'm the one that designed all the PowerPoints and was there to take notes. But these guys would kind of go off the rails and start talking about like their weekend and stuff, and I'm in a very nice way. I'm like, all right, guys, come on, what do we need to do next? Let's keep it moving because nobody else was going to do that. Um, and it was we had work to get done.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, thank you. So moving forward, let's jump to our next section, which is going to be on rapid problems. So scale of 1 to 10, how accurate would you say each sentence is? Chrissy is able to see the patterns and themes that emerge from disorganized information. It is easy for her to identify how pieces of information fit together to solve problems. But she has a tendency to internalize her thinking if she is not called to share her opinion.
Mm, I think that's like a 4 because I definitely, I mean, if, if I see something, and I have something helpful to share, I'm definitely going to share it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so with that in mind, I want you to think about a really crazy day that you had in the past. So this was a day where things were just bouncing all over the walls. I know we've had these days in the past. We have many of them, but I just want you to focus on one day for me and walk me through what was going on. What were the different fires you had to put out, and how did you get through by prioritizing each task you needed to get done?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I think of an example where I had to put out a bunch of fires. Um, Goodness. This is a tough one. I'm trying to, I mean, apparently I'm lucky because I really can't think of like a day where I was like, oh my gosh, I had to put out so many fires. I don't know. I
I'd
really
say
don't.
fires, but things were just busy. Just had a ton of work to do and a lot of stuff to get done. Deadlines were coming up. Just busy in general.
Um, I mean, I had a lot of days like that where I had a lot to get done, like when I worked at Rut and, I'd have situations where people would walk in my office, ask me one question, and then they'd want to stay and keep chatting, and I'd have to nicely tell them, I really got to get this done. Like, I don't know.
Okay, got it. All right. So with that being said, let's move on to the next section. I believe we're getting down to the last few. This one will be on vocabulary. So scale of 1 to 10, how accurate would you say each sentence is? Chrissy is an avid learner who picks up new concepts easily and quickly. She's interested in a wide variety of topics and she constantly seeks out new ideas and concepts. She is, in a new environment, she can readily pick up information, social rules, priorities, and culture. She's able to grasp subtleties and nuances in communication, which can positively impact the precision with which she interacts with others.
I would give that a 10. I'm what I would consider an autodidact. If I don't know something, I'll go teach it to myself. Like if I don't, I'll go down rabbit, not at work, but if I don't know something, I'm like, I want to learn about it. Like, so that's definitely accurate.
Awesome. All right, so I really do like this category. It's called vocabulary, but I really think it should be called the learning category. So with that in mind, what was something recent that you learned yourself, and what were the resources you used to become confident in the subject or whatever it really was?
Um, oh, video editing. There's a lot. Obviously, social media has gone a lot more towards video, and I've done some video editing, but like for social media, really, learning new tools and like CapCut and what have you. It's like I didn't know how to do it, so I go teach myself how to do it, so then I do it. That makes
Oh,
sense.
does. Awesome. All right. So, one more question with you. If you had to choose the way you would learn something, which would it be? Would you rather have someone walk you through step by step where you learn one thing and then the next and then the next and the next? Or are you someone that really just likes to jump into a pool of knowledge and really kind of learn how to swim?
Um, I actually would say a combination of both. I mean, I like some direction, but then I'm really just like a let me get in there and figure it out. Like I learn quick, so sometimes it's just easier to learn by doing, but you need that initial like, introduction to it. If someone's there to do it.
All right. Thank you. All right, so that being said, let's jump to our final section. So, the very last time, Chrissy, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate you say each sentence is. This is on structure. So, Chrissy works effectively in a structured environment where performance, expectations, and methods are well defined. She seeks some freedom and flexibility, but she also likes assurance that she is on the right track of her actions to meet the approved objective.
I'd say it's a 10. I like knowing that, I'm getting done what needs to be done and the fulfillment of okay, I'm completing a given task.
Okay, awesome. All right, so with that in mind, I want you to think about a time in the past where you didn't have a lot of structure in place. You knew the objective of where you needed to go, but you didn't really have those guardrails to fast track you there. You had to put them there yourself and really figure it out. What was the situation and how did you build that structure?
I would say when I went from working in-house to working for myself freelancing, I went from okay, just working for this person in their office with their expectations to now, okay, I'm doing this for myself. So I had to, prioritize, okay, get my website set up. Let me, have checklists for that, get that done. And then, you know, advertising and, getting all of that in line so that I could do everything for myself.
That's awesome. All right. So that being said, that brings us to the end of the KPA. Great job, Chrissy. So now I just have a few random questions to ask you. We usually ask everybody these questions. First of all, what did you do to really prepare for today's interview?
Um, I honestly, I contemplated Googling like the KPA and like, what to expect. And then I'm like, that's just gonna put in my head like what other people, say they answered or how you should answer. And I didn't do that because I wanted to just be honest and real and not have preconceived ideas of what to expect,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. All right, awesome. So, I want to talk about a couple of your past employments. So, in the past, what was one of your greatest managers and what made them so great, or who?
Um, I would say, oh gosh, I've actually had good experiences with managers, but I would say if I had to pick one, it would be uh, her name was Logan. She was actually the VP at Unclaimed Freight, and when I started there, I got hired just to design their print advertisements, and I brought some ideas and to the table of redoing their website. They should be on social media because they weren't at the time. And she was, you know, she was very trusting and like, okay, let me kind of roll with it and really expand that role and expand their marketing and that's I think a good leader, sees potential in their people and wants them to, grow. So I really appreciated that with her.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so on the flip side, what was one of your worst managers that you had in the past, and why was it difficult working with them?
Um, I'm not gonna name names here, but I had somebody at Rut that maybe wasn't I want to say they weren't as professional as females as they should have been, put it that way. And so I had to be very assertive and with them about that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so with that being said, and I'm going to stop the recording right here. We'll jump to some brief questions afterwards. Okay, awesome.